A very warm welcome to each and every one of you this day. You've all made time to be here. We are so happy to also see that you made it on time. So thank you so much for being here. It's a bit of a chilly Monday evening, but that hasn't dampened our motivation to show up and be present tonight. I hope you're all doing well. It's always a pleasure to be with you every evening. Well, welcome to DTLC Season 12, Week 4. We hope that the past 3 weeks have been quite eye-opening, and we are really looking forward to what tonight holds for all of us. So before we dive in, let me just welcome each and every one of you once again. Thank you for being here. It's very encouraging to see your commitment showing up every Monday. It's also encouraging to see your conversations in the WhatsApp group and the effort that you put on working on your health. Well, there is where real change begins. We are honored tonight to have a very strong panel with us, Dr. Alice Ojuang, our lead dietitian, Ms. Atieno Jalango, our family doctor, our nutrition interns, namely Tracy Wafula, Baline Mali, Maureen Mwodo, and two DTLC champions, Jane Owiti and Doreen Oyugi. And joining us as our guest speaker this evening, we have somebody very special. Him and the team support us in the area of mental health and behavioral change. His name is Mr. William Deche. He's a psychologist who works very closely with Dr. Nelly Otieno, whom we shall meet and get to interact with in due course. So before we begin, I want to invite each of you to just settle in, get ready for tonight's session. This is not just another session, another talk. This is actually the heart of the DTLC program. It is where the deeper inner work begins. So I encourage you to get your notebook, get something hot to keep sipping, and you might hear something that might shift your mindset and unlock a new level of motivation. So let's be open, and most of all, let's be ready to grow. Now, to get us started, we'll begin with a review of the topic we had last week, medication management. This is such an important area, as we learned last week, because understanding how our medication works and how lifestyle changes can complement them is the key to better control. And no one else is in a better position to take us through this but our very own family doctor, Atieno Jalango. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you, Lydia, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this evening and to be able to share with you a little of what we learned last week. I hope you've been able to digest most of it. I also want to thank those who did their homework and also want to particularly thank Jen Owiti for putting in some good work there, as well as Elizabeth Wairimu, whom we also had a session with. And I would encourage you to participate actively in your homeworks, okay? But today I'll focus on just some highlights regarding medication. As we said last week, you may need medication, despite all you do on the lifestyle end, your medication may still be required for a condition that you have. Our main focus was mainly on diabetes medication because this program majorly focuses on diabetes and related conditions. And so we looked at insulins, how they work, the types of insulins, the types of oral drugs that we use, and we were able to go through the sulfonylureas, the biguanides, that's metformin, and then the later drugs, the incretins, the SG, and as well as the SGPT2, the ones which make you release glucose through the urine. What I would just like to remind us all is around the key takeaways. Remember, whatever medicine you're taking, it may be for diabetes or some other related condition, things like hypertension, high blood cholesterol, for bipolar, etc. The charge is on you, really. So please take charge. Your medication, your responsibility. You need to take it on time, how it is supposed to be taken. And then secondly, uh, it's an important component of your management for most people. But we also must remember the key role that lifestyle does. For some of us, just adjusting our lifestyle can actually render us using less medication or no medication. So the meal planning is key, your exercise, your sleep, watch out on alcohol, smoking, and any habit-forming drug use. Then regular adjustments may be needed, so always remember follow-up. Follow-up. When you have a chronic condition, you need follow-up to ensure the numbers are right and you're on good track and we avoid complications. So know your numbers because they have a correlation with the effectiveness of whatever intervention. So it may be medicine, it may be your lifestyle. The numbers don't lie. Then know your medication in terms of the source, the name, the dose, the action, and the side effects, and then also know what to do in case of adverse events. So essentially, when you get a drug reaction, always rush to the hospital. And to avoid drug reactions, whatever medication you have, look at any other thing you're taking with your medication. If it's a supplement, please go to sites such as medscape.com, drugs.com, and check for any interactions with any other medication that you're taking or with any other supplement that you're taking. But most important, always remember medication may support the body, but discipline in daily choices sustains the healing. Thanks, Lydia, for this. So always remember that. So lifestyle management and your medication will go hand in hand if you need the medication. So I'll stop there and take any questions. Or even if you want to share your experience, this is the moment. So any questions, any issues, please just bring them up.
Dr. Jalango, so what was the purpose and the importance of doing the assignment you gave us?
Now, it is very important for you because some of you don't know what you're taking, essentially just beyond the name. So when you go in there, you learn what your medication is, what it does, why you are taking it, and then lastly, the pack will tell you what are the certain conditions. If you read the insert, what are the things that you shouldn't do or you shouldn't take with your medication. Why is this important? One, it is important to know what you're putting into your body. Your body is the vessel of your existence. So you want to keep it safe. And sometimes you will find that you have the medication and you don't even know what is it you're taking and what are the potential side effects. You could even be having a side effect already and you don't even know. And you may be thinking it is something that is just out of the blues. So it's important to read those inserts to know what your medication is, how it works, and should anything arise, then you are able to take it up. And if you needed further discussion to understand your medication better, I gave that offer, and I think it's only one person who took it. And we had a great session with her. And I think at the end of it, Elizabeth now understands her medication much, much better, and even how to use it. There are even certain issues we got while we were using, and I was able to address them. So please don't miss these opportunities. It may be a once in a lifetime opportunity. And remember, these opportunities should also be taken within the lifetime of the opportunity. Because once that opportunity goes, it's gone. Okay? So it's important to know your medicine and what it does. Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, Jane.
Good
You know,
evening.
good evening.
Yeah, first, I'm very grateful for this program, particularly when it comes to medication, because I know, or I think majority of patients who go to see the doctor, they think the doctor or the doctors know it all. They know it all. And then when you talk of interaction, see, we thought the doctor should be knowing that he's the one giving you all this medication, that there will be interaction. But this program has really taught me that it is me, it's my problem. The doctor may knowing this medication, but actually they have no time. The time period they see the patient is not enough to give all the explanation. So it is up to we patients to do more research and know what you are taking. Because at one time I was surprised to be asked by a doctor that what is this medication for? I was taken aback because I was thinking he should know what is that medication for. And now when I joined the program, I realized that me as a patient, I should know the medication I'm taking. And this program empowered me to make sure that these days I just don't take the medication because the doctor had given me. I have to do search on it and know reaction, side effect, and so and so. But my question is, sometimes I've done that and I even take a note, the reaction my body is taking. It's how my body reacts. But then when I presented the information to the doctor, they usually I don't see them accepting what I'm telling them until one time I had to take a picture of that reaction. I showed it. So in some of these instances where you cannot even take a picture, like in my case, what can one do to convince the doctor that actually your body rejects the medication you had been given? What can one do to convince the doctor in such a way?
Thank you very much, Jane Owiti, for those sentiments that you expressed and for just emphasizing that your medication is your responsibility. And why I usually say this is because clinicians, doctors are human, okay? And also personalities also play out in practice. And for your own safety, you need to know this thing. And sometimes if you realize that the person that you are seeing is not receptive, it sometimes may need a second opinion. And if possibly you can go to some sites like I've shown you, drugs.com or medscape.com, and you're able to see that listed as a side effect, then you print it and take it, you know? Because
Okay.
yeah, that sometimes may also help because you'll realize that some people don't know. And I can even say now, for me, I remember when I started diabetes practice, I'd never had of insulin edema. So patients used to tell me when they start the insulin, their legs are swelling. I ask my colleagues, they don't know also. So I was like, no, there must be an issue here. It can't be that I've now had two, three patients saying the same thing. This cannot be a coincidence anyway. So I decided to just check it out, and it was there online in publications. It hadn't come into the books yet, but it was already there being seen in practice. So nothing can be dismissed, and you are your best doctor. And if you feel something is an issue, please, please. Many people have saved their lives, saved their bodies from harm by insisting. And from that insulin experience, I remember the time I also had a patient who was using an SE inhibitor complaining of pain in the flank, and I'd never seen that on the insert before. But eventually it became an issue. So we should not disregard what we feel, even if it is a unique symptom. When you feel something, you must insist. If you need, seek a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth opinion. Don't let things just sink like that. Because at the end of the day, it is you who suffers. So don't give up too easily.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take it over to Lydia.
All right. So thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jalango. And for those who have asked the good questions, thank you so much. So we truly appreciate how you simplify these complex medical topics and, bring them to our level. Thank you so much for that. Yes, so up
Thanks,
next,
Lydia.
most welcome. Up next, we'd like to warmly welcome Mr. William Deche, who works closely with our dear doctor, Dr. Nelly Otieno, William is representing the whole group, but they lead us in a psychosocial evaluation in every season. So this is a critical piece of the wellness puzzle. Well, because while food, exercise, and they really play a big role in managing our health, our thoughts and our emotions are also very important. So, William, thank you for making time to be here with us and for walking this journey with us every season. And we are eager to hear what you have prepared for us. Welcome, William Deche.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be part of this group again. And it's exciting to be able to get to learn from a majority of these perspectives. Now, my goal for today was to look at how we can utilize psychosocial evaluation to be able to identify factors that are not of the physical alone, but the emotional. And I sat down and I had a very deep thought. What if we could consider factors of that how we view ourselves from the perspective of esteem, self-esteem, pride, and such and such. And it led me to a very interesting topic, grandiosity. So one would ask what grandiosity means. It is when someone overinflates their sense of importance or their abilities to achieve a certain thing. For example, you're meant to be in a competition, but you have a torn shoe. You're constantly talking about, I can run, I don't need the shoes, but I can run all this whole race. The issue is there or thorns that are lying on the floor, torn barbed wires, and that is the significance of the shoes. Now, I use that example to point out what grandiosity really is. The overinflation, that is basically an irrational sense of success. Now, sometimes we might seem like we are portraying a strong display of confidence. However, a majority of this strong display of confidence that is coming from grandiosity is playing a part as a protective shield for us. We tend to be more grandiose towards certain situations because we might be hiding deeper insecurities. And in order for us to understand the grandiosity of an issue, we get to understand the rigidity of it. What is rigid is at a point insecure. And it makes us march forward as a defense mechanism rather than a realistic type of perspective. So how does grandiosity look like? basically talking about achievements that you've made in an over-exaggerated way. Like you are able to do a certain kilometer run. And that's kilometer run. Yes, it is exciting, but the way you describe it, it's like you've conquered ships and gigantic birds to get to the kilometer run. The wanting to be seen as the best or most important in the group, despite the knowledge that everyone has a diversity in thought and in belief, therefore making it a little bit hard to be more important, less important. You are not crowned at that moment to be important, but yet you get yourself to that perspective. Expecting extra attention or praise from an activity you're doing, finding it very hard. I think many would relate to this, finding it very hard to accept criticism because it puts you in a downward spiral. And finally, acting as if the rules don't apply to you individually, they apply to a major or general people. So I talked about grandiosity being more of a defense mechanism. We can also look at it as a self-preservation approach. Individuals who experience grandiosity might have certain mental health conditions, like bipolar. There's an keen factor of grandiosity that is there. Narcissistic personality disorder, grandiosity will be there. How can we tell that something is grandiosity when it is consistent and it's perverse? It keeps going and it keeps worsening, and it's leaning more on the irrationality of a certain situation rather than the grounding, the reality in the ground, on the ground. People using confidence as a way to cope with insecurity. That is also a key factor of observing when we talk about grandiosity. I'm not saying that your confidence is, when you use your confidence whenever you're having a bad day, is a bad thing. But what I'm trying to point out is there's a fixation over the need to utilize the confidence to unturn or turn the whole situation that you're in that makes you feel insecure. So that would mean maybe sabotage for another person, or it will mean basically finding something to get to the top much more quicker. You're trying to underwrite the whole factor of the situation. Individuals with very high need of recognition or validation. That's another perspective when we talk about grandiosity from the angle of self-preservation. You're there, you need that high level of recognition. Oh, you managed to do this. Why I couldn't? You're so brave, or you're so smart in such an instance. From a psychological standpoint, that will be slightly from an aspect of regression, seeking validation from another individual so as to get a sense of comfort and confidence, despite the fact that we can seek validation and recognition by our own self. Now, there's the question of how can we go about the idea of grandiosity? Because we get to understand that there's the intense bit, but there's also the structured bit that you utilize to hide yourself from other individuals or societal expectations. Encourage self-reflection. This is where the psychosocial assessment will come in. You're going to get a range of questions that make you reflect on some instances. Sometimes when you have to play a role for too long, there's the whole sense of adaptation of that role into habit. So with the assessment tool, we are giving you a chance to look into yourself, to reflect into yourself, and we are also going to play a role in giving you what personality model could fit you best or does fit you best from the questions, the answers you've gotten from the questions. practicing humility from a sense of acceptance and assertiveness. Acceptance in the idea that this is my surrounding, I've been able to accomplish this. Probably I shouldn't mention it just for humiliation purposes, but to give a sense of encouragement to others. Humility basically can be viewed slightly from the perspective of having an assertive type of approach when communicating with our peers, not simply just bombarding them with everything. I was able to finish this and completed this. Where are you? What are you even doing now? You're just lagging around. That kind of progresses or makes the whole grandiosity shoot higher and pushes the other person down. Develop self-awareness, getting to understand once you have your self-reflections session with your counselor through the psychosocial assessment, then you'll be able to be guided through from the idea of what type of behaviors have seemed like a trigger to me or to the people around me in regards to the relationships. How have I been acting? Is it something that I'm comfortable in changing? Yes. Do I need help? And go on. Be open to feedback. I often talk about the reality of humanity is our mortality. We're not perfect. That's the absolute truth. We're simply flesh and bones, and we strive to live our days after day with a great deal of uncertainty, because the afternoon might not look like the evening, and the evening might not look like tomorrow. So if we're able to acknowledge inconsistency in our human actions, then we'll be able to embrace the idea of the feedback that comes with it, not simply lashing out of it. Because if we lash out, then that might mean there's a challenge in regards to accepting a different perspective. And if there's a different perspective and you're challenged by it, then there's rigidity, hence a projection of possible insecurity. As I think the second, the continuing pointer is talking about what I've basically talked about, being open to feedback, not feeling that when you're criticized, you need to come with a defense or rebuttal very quick. It's all about processing the information, getting to understand, and then moving with it. That's when you probably go to the person and inform them, I've had a sit down. I think I've understood 1, 2, 3, but I don't think I'll blend with this. I'll stick with this other type of bit. You might go, you might not go, but you can also practice it from an idea of introspection. Build a balanced self-esteem. Go try different things. You can't focus too much on being a talent of one situation or one instrument. You need to have the diversity so that you can embrace yourself and the work you're doing as an individual. Hence the whole terminology of a balanced self-esteem. It's trying out diverse things, being in diverse situations, learning about the diverse perspectives that are there. That will give you a balanced aspect of self-esteem. But all this cannot go ahead unless we seek and encourage self-reflection. And that is where our assessment tool will come in. Once you're ready, you filled your assessment tool, you can introspect on what you've been able to get or the insight you've been able to get. And then you can be able to reach out for psychological assistance, because we are here. We're very willing to help and push you through all the way to the finish line on where you can walk on your 2 feet again. That's where our job gets done. So basically, once you start with the self-reflection, then you can go with steps. You'll have someone to walk with you through the whole step process. So that's basically me and our organization, Restore and Renew. We look forward to having people do the assessment and discover the parts of yourself that you didn't even think were there, because humanity has a way of working with the conditioning that has been experienced and utilizing it as a pattern. So maybe I can give a good example. You've dropped your cup as a child, and the first thing was the lashing. To many, it will be normal, but every time the child does a mistake, there'll be a fear of lashing. If not resorted, when you grow older, any slight mishap will cause you to shrink, because probably there was no proper conditioning in regards to that point. Anyway, I use that example to show you that there's so much more you're yet to learn about yourself, and that is why we're here, to walk with you and walk with the process. Thank you. Any
Deche, Deche, could you tell us more about the evaluation tool, just in summary again? Where is it? Why do they need to do it? And yeah.
So our evaluation is present as a Google form sheet, but once you've been able to fill the Google form sheet, you will be able to get our contacts if you want to follow up with the whole process. So I believe hopefully by tomorrow, you guys will have the link to log into your form sheet and to work through it, so that you'll be able to understand where to head forward. Our offices, if you're eager to find out more, are located at Luton Hospital, along Gong Road, 3rd floor, Dr. Plaza B. I'll repeat again. Luton Hospital, along Gong Road, 3rd floor, Doctors Plaza B. And the name is Restore and Renew Wellness Group. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, William, for that analysis. Usually in the DTLC program, we recommend that you friends do a mental health assessment. So this was just an introduction. You'll get to have a one-on-one with Dr. Nelly and the team, William, and others like Violet. So William talked about a questionnaire. We'll share this. It's going to be in form of a Google form, where when you fill it in, we don't have to know who you are. It goes directly to the Restore and Renew team. So to equip you for this, we shall also prepare a referral letter. And once you receive it, feel free to visit Restore and Renew, make that appointment, call them. We shall share all their details with them, yeah? So this is a very important part of your lifestyle change journey. And we encourage you, once you get your letter, please make that appointment. So thank you so much, William, for that. And we look forward to meeting you together with the rest of the team later on during your session on stress management. Thank you so much once again, yeah? All right, so up next, we shift our attention to the main topic for this evening, carbohydrate intelligence. You've probably been asking yourself, what is this all about? Well, tonight we get to learn why understanding your carbohydrates is very important in managing your health. And there's no better person to guide us through this than our lead dietitian, Dr. Ojwang. Dr. Ojwang, we're excited to learn from you, and we are all ears.
Yes. Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Or good day, people in different parts of the world. It's nice to see you. It's nice that today we have a lot of people. Yes, very good. But before I go on to carbohydrate intelligence, I just wanted to summarize something about evaluation. Why do we need an evaluation? To be honest, in the other seasons, not everybody does this evaluation, but it's very important to know who you are, in terms of mental health. And we know it's a big problem. So many things cause us mental health. Just this rain alone is enough to cause us so much mental health. I can see Dr. Jalango is nodding. So one, we want to understand why should you take this evaluation. You want to understand the root of lifestyle habits, okay? Many health behaviors are also linked to mental health, emotional stress. Sometimes you actually have stress that causes you anxiety, then it causes you to overeat, it causes you sugar cravings, it causes you poor sleep, and lack of motivation for exercise and things like that. And this actually affects you. And this is why we need the evaluation. Another reason why we need the evaluation is to personalize the lifestyle plan. Not everyone struggles for the same reason. Some people need support with stress, with emotional eating, with burnout, with motivation. So the assessment allows us to support you better because you'll discover, this is why this is a problem. This is why, because sometimes we need you to check your blood sugar, we need you to check your blood pressure, but you have no motivation. We need you to do your steps so then we can see in the app and, create some competition, but you have no motivation. So so you will discover why is it that I don't have motivation. Then really also to improve long-term success. Studies or research shows that addressing mental health improves outcomes for diabetes management, weight loss, blood pressure, lifestyle adherence. So when the mind is supported, behavior change becomes easier and more sustainable, And also, last but not least, it's not last, to prevent burnout and relapse. Lifestyle change programs can feel challenging. Sometimes you're feeling it's a lot. So assessing mental well-being helps to identify participants who may be at risk. You're at risk of discouragement, emotional overload, giving up, early support, yeah. I can say in the 12 seasons, many people have done the evaluation and they were just surprised what they found out, So we have two evaluations. We have the one that you're going to do on Google document. They'll just ask you questions, and those questions, they help you with self-reflection. And then you are going to go on to the psychologist to have face-to-face evaluation, which is part of your DTLC course, so you don't have to pay anything, right? So last but not least, to support whole person, we want to support whole person, we have a 12-week program, which you have paid for. It is lifestyle program. We're going to take you through a lot. We've studied nutrition, psychological, physical activity, circadian rhythm. We just did medication management, monitoring your health. It's a lot, but it's not complete if we don't do an emotional health, So we focus on total lifestyle change, not just food or exercise, but also your physical health, your emotional health, your mental resilience, and social support. And during the season, we are also going to do a social support session, which everybody finds very interesting. So we want to help to transform your lifestyle. So you need everything. So we hope that you can do the evaluation, both the one on paper and on face-to-face, so that you can discover who you are. Thank you, Lydia. I took some time off my topic, but now I'm ready. So do we have any question? I hope that clears. That clears your mind, makes it clear. Yes, I say Irene, Mary Njoroge. Good, well done. Okay, so now let's go to carbohydrate intelligence. But carbohydrate intelligence is a very interesting topic. We've been monitoring your plates and we will get there. But I'd like to do a quiz because carbohydrate intelligence is also associated with the amount of sugar you consume. All right. So I'd like to, so Lydia, you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. So I'd like us to do a quiz, and this quiz is on sugar intake, and then we will go on to do carbohydrate intelligence. So just take a pen and paper and just write it down quickly. And let's try what we can do. So it assesses added sugar habits, not natural sugars from whole foods, okay? After this, you're talking about whole foods. And then people living with diabetes, hypertension, or obesity should use results to guide action, not to feel guilty. So we don't want you to feel guilty about this. Okay, question 1. How often do you drink sugary beverages? How often do you drink sugary beverages? Never. 1 to 2 times per week. 3 to 5 times per week. And daily, which is 3. So write down your score, and we'll move a little fast, okay? How many teaspoons of sugar do you add to tea, coffee per day? None. 1 to 2 spoons, 3 to 4 teaspoons, 5 or more teaspoons. Okay, thank you. Moving on. How often do you eat sweets, cakes, biscuits, or chocolates? Or just think of anything sweet. Rarely or never. Once per week, 2 to 4 times per week, daily, or almost daily. Okay? Yeah. So choose the choices. Question 4. How often do you consume processed foods? Sweetened cereals, flavored yogurt, sauces, pastries, processed. So again, we have rarely, 1 to 2 times, 3 to 5 times, daily. Moving on to question 5. How often do you drink fruit juice or smoothies instead of whole fruit? So you have a fruit, but you make a smoothie out of it. Never. 1 to 2 times per week, 3 to 5 times per week, daily. When you feel stressed, tired, or emotional, how often do you turn to sugary foods? You're feeling stressed, you're feeling tired, or you're feeling emotional. Can be positive or negative emotions. How often do you turn to sugary foods? Never, sometimes, often, almost, always. Do you read food labels to check for sugar content? Always, sometimes, rarely, never. Eight, how often do you snack between meals on sweet foods? How often do you snack between meals on sweet foods? Like you had your breakfast and then snack. Okay? Your snack is something sweet. Biscuit, cookie, a pastry, flavored yogurt, just something sweet. Never, occasional, daily, multiple times daily. We're coming to the end of this. How would you describe your portion size? When eating sweet foods, how would you describe your portion size when you're eating something sweet? Small, moderate, large, very large. No limits. You eat it until you decide, okay, I've had this. How often do you consume sugary foods late at night? After DTLC, it is 10 p.m. At least in Africa, it's nighttime, and somewhere in Europe, America is daytime. So do you go and eat something sweet? Because it's late. It's time to check in bed. Yep. Okay. So this is how you score. If you answered A, most A is 0. So anywhere you have A is 0 points. Anywhere you have B is 1 point. Anywhere you have C is 2 points. Anywhere you have D is 3 points. So just add up your score and please just put it in the chat. Like, how many do you have? What's your score? Okay, let me see the chats. What's your score? Okay, thank you. Agnes, 0. Well done. Wow, it's really hard to get people like that. Irene, 7. Thank you for sharing. 3. Nemali, thank you. 2. Genowiti, Merinjero get 12. Thank you for sharing. Yep. Keep them coming. 16. Wairimu. Yeah. Harold, I'm waiting for yours. Cynthia Renyenje, 15. Thank you. Jane Rose, 11. Thank you. 12. Thank you. Carol. Line. Doreen, 3. 2. 11, 12. Reading. Everybody here. I have 28 people on this program. Post. Yep. Keep going. Carol, you have two sets of answers. One is lower, one is a little bit raised. Okay, very good. Thank you so much for putting your scores there. Okay, so let's see. What do we have here? 0.7, 0 to 7 points, low sugar intake, excellent control, good awareness and habits, maintain your current lifestyle. You're a sugar smart lady or gentleman, and keep going. 8 to 5 points, 15 points, sorry. Moderate sugar intake, some hidden sugar sources. Room for improvement. You're doing well, but small changes will make a big difference. You need to go lower. 16 to 23, high sugar intake, frequent sugar exposure, increased risk for blood sugar imbalance, and weight gain. You will benefit from a structured sugar/challenge. Okay? Anyway, we're going through this education so that you can change, but definitely we have a problem. Anytime from 8 going on, it means you're taking in more sugar than you can. 24 to 30 points, very high sugar intake. So excessive sugar consumption, high risk for metabolic and lifestyle diseases, e.g. diabetes, high cholesterol. Immediate reduction is strongly recommended. So start by removing snacks, for example. Okay? So we must think about this, right? Yeah. So we have got work to do on sugar. You can see there are people who have less sugar intake, especially our champions, Jane Owiti and Doreen. Yeah. So that's good. But I'll summarize the sugar intake at the end. So now I want us to go to carbohydrate. But so you have your scores. This is something to really think about because we want to make sure that we're eating healthy. We're removing all these problems. Yeah. So carbohydrate intelligence. What's carbohydrate intelligence? Let me share my slides again. They were supposed to be on the same slides, but something happened there. Okay. Can you confirm that you can see my slides, Lydia, on carbohydrate intelligence?
Yes.
Yeah. So we want you to mastering carbs for metabolic health. So we have seen some people are taking a lot of sugar from added sugar, but now we want to see your sugar intake from whole foods, all right? So what is carbohydrate intelligence? I call it carbohydrate intelligence, but it's really what you call carbohydrate counting in lame language. So carbohydrate counting is a meal planning approach where we highlight on the total amount of carbohydrates consumed. The total amount of carbohydrates consumed. The source of the carbohydrate does not matter. You may wonder why. It does matter, but for now, let's say it does not matter. The type of carbohydrate consumed sometimes does not matter, because a carbohydrate is a carbohydrate. And why do I say that? Sometimes when we are trying to lose weight or we are trying to reduce cholesterol or manage diabetes, people tell you, oh, don't consume this carbohydrate, consume this one. And when you go to the market, you'll find that you have carbohydrates for people living with diabetes, carbohydrate for weight loss, okay? So what happens? It's misleading because carbohydrate is digested and becomes 100% sugar. So it does not matter the type of carbohydrate it is. So whether it's written diabetic carbohydrate, it is still going to become 100%. So that's why we say it doesn't matter because a carbohydrate is a carbohydrate. We're going on and we'll deal with that as we come. So why is it important? Because it controls blood glucose. And blood glucose, you're not talking blood glucose for people living with diabetes. Remember, when you eat food, everything becomes blood sugar. The higher your blood sugar, the higher the risk of being diabetic, the risk of gaining weight, and more problems, which we are going to discuss. Improves your immune system. All of us, when you take a lot of carbohydrate in your diet, it affects your immune system. It affects your brain health. It helps control weight, control lipid profile, prevention of other chronic diseases, and improve quality of life. In this program, I've seen just when people learn how to manage their carbohydrates, people have managed reverse type 2 diabetes easily, reversed fatty liver easily, because in our diet, carbohydrate is a big problem. So which foods are classified as carbohydrates? Can you just put it on the chart for me? What is classified as carbohydrate? And please, if the champions, you know you shouldn't participate in this, because you already know. So which ones are carbohydrates? Just tell me. Even the nutrition interns, please. Maureen and Nemali, I want to hear you. Which ones are carbohydrates? And this is my water glass. Haha. Huge. Fruits, potatoes, chapati, maize meal, wheat. Yep. Yep. Very good. Starchy foods. Yeah. Oats, sweet potatoes, and cakes. Yeah. Okay. Waru. That is potatoes. Irish ugali, maize, nduma, arrowroot. Okay, very good. Okay, all right. Thank you. You're very good participants. I like you. Somebody said milk, eh? I wonder what people will say that. Good. So thank you for the chat. Okay, so all starches are carbohydrates. And you know what starches are? All starches. Your rice, your potatoes, your arrowroots, your oats, all those things you're telling me, all of them are carbohydrates. All fruits are carbohydrates. People get shocked. All fruits are carbohydrates. All legumes are carbohydrates. This is because most legumes are 63% carbohydrates, 20% protein, and then other nutrients. So most people say that they think it's a protein. It has protein, but it falls under the classification of carbohydrates because it has more than 50% carbohydrates. All types of dairy except cheese are carbs. Okay? All sweetened beverages are carbohydrates. And so you know, carbohydrates, 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 carbohydrates. Smoothies, we make smoothies with milk, with yogurt, carbohydrates. Sweets, carbohydrates. Pastas, carbohydrates. Dairy, we said except cheese, but the milk, yogurt, fermented milk, or buttermilk, all carbohydrates. So the confusion is, when you look at the calorie and people have this knowledge, you think that fat has got a lot of calories. Just 1 gram of fat will give you 9 calories. So that's the energy you consume. Then the carbohydrates and the protein gives you less. So people avoid fat and take a lot of carbohydrates, okay? And when I was in the university, this is what I was taught. Well, we need more energy. So you end up taking more carbohydrates and take less fat and less protein. And so this is what we were taught. But the reality is, this prescription has caused a lot of problems. The obesity epidemic, diabetes epidemic is associated with excess consumptions of carbohydrates. Of course, not only carbohydrates, but also sugar that we've just looked at just now, all right? So then, why do we say all those, milk is carbohydrate, fruit is carbohydrate, starches are carbohydrate? Because you can see glucose comes from starches, okay? So when you eat starches, sugars are broken down into glucose. Lactose, which is a form of milk, comes from milk, okay? And milk is a double lactose because it has glucose and fructose. And then fruit sugar is fructose. And fructose is one of the worst sugars because people abuse fruits. And many years ago, fructose was classified as the next tobacco because you can take one fruit, two fruits. It's easy to eat. You can eat one fruit or two fruits. But if you're given oranges, you can't eat 3 oranges. You can't eat 5 oranges. You can't eat a whole pineapple because it's acidic. The chewing affects your teeth and your tongue, and you can't eat much. So nature has a way of protecting you from overconsumption. But when you blend, you can take a glass of five oranges. You can take a glass of a whole pineapple. And that's a lot of sugar. Completely very dangerous. Okay. So we've defined the different carbohydrates. So we have, most people take a lot. And because you've been posting your foods, we are going to be able to classify like how much carbohydrates you actually take. Are you on the high carb, medium carb, or low carb? But what I've seen, and with your sugar intake, most of us are in the high carb zone, which is definitely not good for our long-term health. So what is the impact of carbohydrates on your blood sugar? And remember, I said when we talk about blood sugar, it's not only for people living with diabetes, it's all of us, because everything we eat becomes sugar. Your body uses sugar as energy. So when you consume a lot of carbohydrates, okay? And this is also, let's say you eat a lot of refined, or when you eat a lot of carbohydrates, it could be brown rice, but you eat a lot, could be beans, you eat a lot, or refined. You have high blood sugar, you have an insulin surge, and you have a sharp crash. You're likely to your blood sugar, it shoots and then it plummets. So then you end up feeling fatigued and even emotionally, yeah. Brain fog, irritability, hunger, craving. So you crave for the next food. So the more carbohydrates you eat, the more it is easy for you to eat. So you can eat breakfast, you can eat snack, then you eat lunch, then you want a snack, then you eat dinner, then you eat a snack. The more times you eat, the more the sugar, the more the weight gain, the more the problems you're creating. And you wonder why you can't sleep, why you're tired, why you're fatigued. It's your carbohydrates. So remember that diabetes is described as a condition that affects the way your body uses food for energy. So in other words, when we get to 40s, we are really all diabetic because the way your body uses sugar for energy, it changes because your metabolic rate slows down. It's easy for you to gain weight, menopause issues, and these things happen. So why do I need that? So let's get back here. When you take carbohydrates in your diet, remember the carbohydrates, it becomes 100% sugar. It is converted to 100% sugar. You take protein, it's converted to 60% sugar. And even if you avoid carbohydrates, some people eliminate carbohydrates because your body requires sugar, the protein will be converted to 100% sugar. So you still need carbohydrates. You still need to eat carbohydrates. So I'm not saying don't, but we are learning. And fat, very little, 10% of it becomes sugar. So just the way this is converted into sugar, which food of the three, which food is dangerous to eat in excess? Put in the chat here for me. Which food is dangerous to eat in excess? Is it the protein? Is it the carbohydrates, or is it the fat? Yeah. Of course, we blame carbohydrates, but remember, thank you. Everybody's saying carb, carb, carb. But remember, everything when you eat is excess is dangerous. Is definitely dangerous. Everything in excess is dangerous. So whether it's carbohydrates, whether it's protein, whether it's fat. So you've all failed. So everything in excess is dangerous. We need carbohydrates in our diet. We need protein in our diet. We need fat in our diet, but it has to be in moderation. And so we want to teach you, we want to tell you the skills, okay? So what is the effect on your blood sugar when it comes to carbohydrates? Now, this is the time I'll agree with you that excess carbohydrates is dangerous. So when you eat an equivalent of 5 grams of carbohydrates, that is like taking a teaspoon of sugar. Okay, let me explain. When you take, you see, the food always has carbohydrates, it has protein, it has fiber, it has many things. So when you take a slice of bread, it has like 15 grams of carbohydrates. I'm a dietitian, so I know that. It's not easy for all of you, but you will learn. So that literally means if you take a slice of bread, the impact it has on your blood sugar is like taking 3 teaspoons of sugar. Are you getting me, guys? Please say you understand the impact on your sugar. So when you take one slice of bread is equivalent to 15 grams of carbohydrates. A teaspoon of sugar is 5 grams, or actually it says 4.5 grams. That's the measurement. So when you take a slice of bread, it's like taking 3 teaspoons of sugar. That's the impact it has on your sugar when you compare. So let's look at, there's a doctor in the UK, David Unwin. He came up with this theory. And so that theory, he actually did research and found that people who took so much sugar, carbohydrates, their blood sugars were high as compared to who took less. So here, this is a very common meal people eat. You have breakfast, you have cereals, you have toast, you have juice. How many carbohydrates are those? Now you guys are becoming you have your carbohydrate intel is going up. How many carbohydrates are those? Cereals, toast, and fruit juice. Are we seeing anything in the chat, Lydia? How many carbohydrates are we at this in this meal? 4. All 4. Very good. You're right. So we have, oh, sorry, let me go back there. So we have bran flakes, which has about, 3.7 grams, about 15 grams. So that's like 3.5 teaspoons sugar. Milk is 125 ml is equivalent to about 1 teaspoon of sugar. Brown toast is equivalent to 3 teaspoons of sugar, like we said. Pure apple juice is equivalent to 8 teaspoons of sugar. So if we are looking at the equivalent of sugar intake as compared to the carbohydrates, how many teaspoons of sugar has this person taken for breakfast? 16.3 teaspoons of sugar. And most of the time we are not aware because those are 4 carbohydrates. How do you feel about that? Is this what you've been taking for your breakfast? Or for lunch? Okay, let's move on. So you can see if you look at various cereals, they have a lot of sugar. And maybe these are what we buy for the children. We might not take it as much. But we can see that oats probably has a little bit of less sugar. For just a little bit, okay? About 150 ml. So what are you really eating? If you look at the rice, and we'll share these things in the group so that you can study them. Look at fruits. So you have a banana, then you have rice and beans and banana. How many carbohydrates have you had? How much sugar is that? If just one large banana is equivalent to 6 teaspoons of sugar. Okay, fast forward. Skip. So we haven't done your portion sizes in terms of carbohydrate intelligence because we didn't want you to be very scared. But now let's just look at others. So we created this book that shows the amount of carbohydrates. So you see, this is about 150 grams of sugar. The amount of carbohydrates in 150 grams of rice, is 42 grams. If we divide this rice by 4.5, a teaspoon of sugar is 4.5, it gives us equivalent to 9 teaspoons of sugar. That's how it's going to raise your sugar equivalent. So you can see brown rice is about 100. That will give us about 6 teaspoons of sugar. So it doesn't matter what you eat, whether it is whole or not, the sugar is high. But definitely, the more whole, the more natural the food is, the less the conversion to sugar. Then, of course, we have bread. How many slices of bread you eat? We said if you eat 1 slice of bread, you're getting about 3 teaspoons of sugar equivalent. And let's remember, it's equivalent. 3 teaspoons, 3 slices, 9. More. So the more bread you eat, the more trouble. And then what do? We have bread, we put jam, we put honey. You're adding more carbohydrates. Then you take it with milk. Then you top it up with the fruit. Carbs and carbs and carbs. This is what you're having. All right? This is a favorite of many people. Even me, I like chapati. So how many do you have? It's unbelievable. You can see how much sugar just 1 chapati is. Okay? Okay, you get the points and the fruits. So let's skip. So we are looking at the plates of the last season. But when we do the review on Monday next week, we are going to be looking at your plates. So last season, we can see, and these are usually when people start. So that is why we've been just observing your food. And this is why we need you to post your food so we can educate you using your own food. And I'm really disappointed to see that some people have just put 1 food. So just try. It's for your education and for your good. So this person, you can see, they have bread, they have a banana, they have beans, their beans have potatoes. Okay? So if we calculate, it was coming to about 24 teaspoons of sugar. An estimation. And that's just 1 meal. Okay? So here. So this person has eaten chapati. They have what we call arrowroots. They have legumes. And they have rice. Isn't this what we eat all the time? So tell me, will you ever lose weight eating like this? If you're managing diabetes and you eat like this, how much blood sugar is raised? How much your dosage of medication automatically is high? Your dosage of medication is very high because this becomes 100% sugar. So literally think that you're taking equivalent to 37 teaspoons of sugar. You're killing yourself slowly. Okay? So here they have a glass of milk. And of course, they have some maize meal. Okay? So equivalent 13 teaspoons of sugar. You have here 1 chapati, 14 teaspoons of sugar. Okay? So this is just some. So next, on Monday, we are going to look at your food. So what am I saying? You can eat any carbohydrates, but try not to eat 2 carbohydrates in 1 meal. Let's not have rice with your beans. Let's not have your chapati or tortilla with your beans. Let's not have fruit with starch. Let's have 1 carbohydrate at a go. So in other words, when we are going to when you're going to eat breakfast, you have to plan. What is my starch for breakfast? What's my carbohydrate? Now you're not going to use starch. Now you start using carbohydrate because carbohydrate is a group of food. So what carbohydrate am I having for breakfast? Is it going to be fruit? Is it going to be legumes? Is it going to be rice? Is it going to be, what is it going to be? So you want to think along those lines, okay? And if I just summarize, let me open another slide here. So then in that case, if we are taking in a lot of sugar in our diet, okay? We are taking in sugar like we have analyzed, okay? And then we are taking in a lot of carbohydrates. So generally, how much sugar are we taking? Just express yourself in the chat for me. You found that you're taking a lot of sugar and your carbohydrate is contributing a lot of sugar. How much sugar are we taking? Just express yourself. What is your understanding? Please write for me. Wairimo, you want to say something? Please go ahead. Make it
Sorry.
short. Mm,
Okay. I
yeah.
am very interested in the legume. Is a legume a carbohydrate or a protein, but that can be converted into a carbohydrate? Because all this time we have known legumes are protein. So what are the natural proteins that we can maximize on?
Let's talk about carbohydrates today, okay? So legumes are a food has different nutrients. So most of the legumes have 63% carbohydrates or 60% carbohydrates. Then they have 18 to 23% protein. Then they have other things. Beans is very nutritious, but it falls. Where would it fall? It has 20% protein, 60% carbohydrates. Where will it fall? Is it classified as protein or is it classified as a carbohydrate?
Carbohydrate.
Yes. So we just want you to have that knowledge because it's really going to impact your health. So yes, when you eat beans with your vegetables, it gives you very good carbohydrate because it's whole. It gives you protein. So it's a healthier carbohydrate to eat than like white rice. So you can eat beans, but we don't want you to eat rice and beans because that's double carbohydrates. Are we clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So now let's summarize this. Yes, Mary.
This class on carbohydrates is very, very eye-opening. Thank you very much. I have a question on tea. Like personally, I don't put milk into my tea. So am I allowed to use sugar, or are we supposed to stop using sugar in our teas?
Yeah. So Mary, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you stop taking sugar. I am educating you so you can make a decision. Okay? But let me tell you what's realistic. If I take a teaspoon of sugar, 2 cups of tea a day, that's not too bad. If I take 1 cup of coffee and I like it with sugar, I'm taking 3 teaspoons of sugar in my cup and I only have that 1 cup. Okay? Maybe it's not too bad, but I'm taking 10 cups of tea. And we know that we have communities that love tea. You're taking 10 cups of tea, 3 teaspoons of sugar. How much sugar is that? Do the math. A teaspoon of sugar is 5 grams. You're taking 10 cups of tea, 3 teaspoons of sugar. How many have you done? How many have you taken? Do the math. Just put for me there. How many grams of sugar is that in a day? Guys, do the math. 30 teaspoons of sugar times 5. How much sugar is that? I need you to put it down for me. Then I know you understand. Before we come to you, Harold. 150 grams of sugar in one day. Surely. Okay. You get the point. Yes, Harold.
I know fast food restaurants are really popular in the US. And there's a particular place called Popeyes, and they have a menu. And the menu is like this with starches. You could have rice, you could have beans, or you could put them together, rice and beans together in a cup. And I tend to mix my rice with my beans. Now that's 2 starches, as I'm learning.
2 carbohydrates.
So Carbohydrates. I'm sorry. Yes, carbohydrates. So if I were to get the rice and beans like I like and get a small portion, would that make a difference? Because I like them both, but if I measure it and get the small, even though they're both carbohydrates, how does that work for me? Or does
That
it
is
work?
good. That is good. I think you're there in the last session. We talked about portions, okay?
Yes.
So portions is good. So if you're having a small portion of your rice and beans instead of a large portion, that you've already made a healthy choice by reducing the portion because you've reduced the amount of carbohydrates that there is. Okay?
Thank
So
you.
do we have any other burning question before I go to the killer slide? Any comments, any questions in relation to carbohydrates and sugar? I see somebody says, I take lots of tea with good amount of milk. You can see milk doesn't have so much carbohydrates, but what is a good amount? So you have to also talk with yourself, okay? Yeah. Crazy level of sugar, like all the diet is just sugar. Yeah. So you take a lot of sugar in your tea, you take snacks, carbohydrates, then you take. Okay, let's end this. So 10 ways that the sugar affects your brain. I want you to be able to appreciate this. 10 ways the sugar affects your brain. Sugar overstimulates the brain reward system. What does that mean? When the sugar enters the body, it rapidly stimulates the release of dopamine, okay? So this one is, in short, it's a neurotransmitter. So over time, this creates cravings, habitual consumption of sugar, and sugar dependence. You feel like you cannot do without sugar. The same way some people say, I cannot do without coffee. I cannot do without alcohol. So it's the same effect, like taking drugs, alcohol and drugs. So sugar also interfere with memory and learning. The more sugar you have, okay, the more, chronic high sugar intake can reduce production of brain, hormones that help the brain, okay? And so, of course, then you're creating a problem. It increases inflammation. It causes energy crash. You get tired, fatigued, you get irritability, headaches. It disrupts the brain's appetite regulation. So that makes you always have an appetite. So you can eat, the more carbohydrates you eat, it prepares you for the next meal because sugar rushes up. Insulin is overproduced, lowers your sugar, you're hungry. Next meal, so you end up eating so many meals. Okay? And we know sugar affects your mood. So the more sugar you have, the more, and then you're on a high. So when you don't have the sugar, then you're on a low. So you're always having, and that can actually cause stress and emotional instability, And so sugar contributes to insulin resistance, which of course increases your risk of getting diabetes. In fact, so much sugar in the brain has been called type 2 is it type 3 diabetes? Atino, you can tell us. When you have too much sugar in your brain, there is a new thing called insulin resistant in the brain. Okay?
Yeah.
Please?
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
So what you say is quite right because too much sugar, the brain is one of the organs that takes up sugar directly. And sugar, when there's too much of it in the system, and especially if it goes to the brain, it can cause the brain to malfunction. So it causes inflammation in the brain, and then you can manifest almost any inflammatory disease of the brain, and even predispose you to tumors.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, there are many, many, many issues, like also, disrupting the gut-brain health connection. You get? And of course, we're going to talk about gut health in the very near future. So this is what we want to leave you with. Reducing your sugar intake is not only about your weight loss or diabetes, it's also about protecting your brain, So of course, we want to have clear thinking. We have to have better moods. We have to have a strong memory. We have to have improved energy. We want to have long-term brain health. Okay? So we don't want to age quickly. We don't want to be, brain fogged, So you know where you're making mistakes. Where are you making mistakes? You're having double carbohydrates. You're having snacks. So the challenge for this week is let us see on the group one carbohydrate. That means if you've been eating 2 carbs, you have 1 carb, increase your vegetable intake so that you can be able to cover the difference. So reduce your carb intake. You will see the difference in your blood sugars. You'll see the difference in your weight in no time. All right. And then if you've been taking snacks, how old are you? If you're 20 something, you can take snacks. If you're 40s, you want to learn to start taking less, because the more of the snacks you take, then the more problems, the more sugar you're consuming. And you can see how dangerous sugar is. Atieno, can you give them the parting shot?
Oh dear, you're making me the bad one.
I'm already bad.
Yeah, I know. But essentially, carbs are dangerous. Good for health, but anything in excess, as Alice had said, is then gets dangerous. Even the best of foods, when taken in excess, is dangerous. So most critical when we're looking at food, and especially carbs, is striking a balance. When you strike a balance, it means you're just eating the right amount for your body processes. The moment you're taking in more than you need, then a problem comes in. And especially, you need to watch out for the simple carbs. The more simpler the carb is, the worse it is. So your sugars, the honey, be very careful with those, the sweets, cakes. So, but other than that, I would say life is still good with balance.
But there's some 2 questions here. Maybe let's answer them. So somebody said, do we avoid fruit in the morning and eat fruit mid-morning? So let me explain again. Fruit is a carbohydrate. So decide, what am I taking? Which carbohydrate am I taking for my breakfast, for my lunch, for my dinner? Is it fruit? Is it rice? What is it? So you're not avoiding anything. You're just changing how you eat. So I would have my 2 eggs for breakfast, for example, a banana and vegetables. I've had my carbohydrate for the day. And we are not having snacks. So why are we having it at mid-morning? It means we are still having a snack. So now I wanted to end on time. Now you're making me go poor. Let me just draw this chart I like at Dr. Jalano.
Yeah,
You know
go
this chart
ahead.
I like. Eh? Okay. So we have here. So this, we can say this is the sugar levels. Okay? And this is your meals. So what happens? Okay? So you eat, so this is like, sorry, what is that now? Okay. So this is, let me draw and then explain. So this is your normal blood sugar. So let's say your baseline blood sugar, which is like maybe 6, for example. So you take breakfast, you take a meal with carbs, your sugar goes up, of course. Then snack comes, you take a fruit, it shoots your sugar. Then again, you eat lunch, sugar. Then 4 p.m., you need another one. Then dinner. Then after dinner, surely. So what are you doing? What are you doing? So you actually not supposed to, what are you eating for snacks? So even somebody says, what about snacking on nuts, macadamia, and almonds? It's okay to snack on this, but why are you snacking? Why can't that macadamia be part of your breakfast? So then it provides you with energy long term. So you're not snacking. And this is why if you eat protein in the morning, you're not hungry at 10 o'clock. It takes you for 6 to 7 hours. So you're not craving anything. You'll be eating lunch because it's time to eat. But when you take only carbohydrates for breakfast, you will be eating snack, lunch, snack, dinner. Is this okay if your body keeps producing so much sugar? You keep producing, you take like this, the body is overproducing insulin, weight loss, weight gain, type 2 diabetes in the making, and that is a problem. So what we are saying is cut out the snacks. Eat, for now, learn to eat 2 meals a day. If you eat breakfast like a king, eat dinner like a pauper. You will not be hungry even at lunchtime. You'll be hungry at 3, 4. If you eat a good piece of protein for breakfast, you'll be hungry at 3, at 4. Now, at that time, you can either have a meal if you have it, or that's the only time I can say have some nuts, because it means then get home, have dinner. But that dinner also needs to be as small because you're going to sleep. So if you just listen to the instructions that we are giving you and apply the instructions that we are giving you, you will see the results in your health. I think I stopped there. Thank you very much.
Wow. We thought you would continue with something else, but no, time is up. Thank you so much, dear doctors, for that very well-explained presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Juang. You've broken down everything so clearly. We've come from confusion to clarity when it comes to carbs. Well, we know we have so many questions. We will continue to learn throughout the week. One thing I can tell you to expect this week is you've been posting your meals, but from now on, please expect a reaction to your meals. You'll see some ticks, some X's. Please do not allow this to stop you from posting your meals. We are here to learn. We give the doctors a chance to direct us. Thank you so much for that presentation. Any questions we have our group. Let's continue posting the questions there. When you feel unsure, ask. We have the nutritionists, the interns, our lead dietitian, Dr. Juang, here to help us. So thank you so much, everybody, for this evening. We feel like it has been cut short, but as always, we'll continue this next week. So as we wrap up our session, we want to thank you all for showing up on time, making time to be here this day to listen to this life-changing session. Thank you for your questions, and thank you so much for being open to change. Well, we have our challenge for this week. We shall again send a reminder in the morning and also during the course of the week, just to keep us alert and to keep us going strong in this journey. We know that these changes do not take place overnight, so we really want to give it our best shot. We just want to keep trying, even though it is small steps. That is what counts. So we leave you with this in mind, that progress does not come from perfection. It comes from consistency. So take what you've learned today, try to apply it, and make one decision at a time. We thank you so much, our panelists, our guest speaker, Deche. We shall receive some letters during the course of the week, sending us to go visit our psychologist, get that mental assessment. Please do not hesitate to do this. Take full advantage of this program. And with that, we leave you with these words. Growth begins when we are willing to learn and relearn. So we wish you a restful evening, a wonderful week ahead, and see you again next week. Good night.